10 coats of paint stained in tobacco.
Hi, the disembodied voice. I usually just have myself just on the screen. Hey, how's it going? Hi, Patsy. How you doing? I hope the other commenters are coming in and that they're nice to me. Here is the docket today. The Adult in the Room podcast is going to talk about we have the Iran SITREP, which we do on Tuesdays. I'm going to have that coming up at 1:30, although we've got lots of pertinent information to that end. In addition to that, we got, there might be some high-tech games with the mayoral race in the city of Los Angeles. And I know that sounds really kind of nutty. If you know the story, you know. But there are some people who suggest that might actually be an issue. And so we will take it up. And we'll find out what some people are doing to get some answers about that. And then there's the Cali election scandal. Now, the reason I'm calling it a scandal is because there were some, when I set up the live stream, there were some tech outlets that said, well, you might have to change your headline. And I thought, oh, really? And I thought, okay, around SITREP, that always passes muster. Is it because I mentioned the G word for, and don't really know. And then there's the election fraud, which has been deemed a bad thing to talk about, right? By the lights of the tech censors. So I don't know which it was, but here we are, and we're going to talk about them all today. The voter system in Cali is full of holes. The latest on the Islamic Center shooting out of San Diego. I'll get to that right after. Let's talk about the issue of the election problems, discontinuity. Let's get right to it. Let's find out why people believe that there is an issue with the veracity of the people who claim that they are voters in the state of California. We go to my piece from yesterday. LA woman, I did that as a pay on to the Doors. LA woman pleads guilty in federal court to doing that thing that never happens in a voter scam. So that's what we're always told. Oh, come on, Victoria. There is not fraudulent activity here. You are out of your mind again. Come on now. And of course, where is it? Where is it? Well, this will tell you why you don't actually catch it very often. Do you remember the crime that never happens? Voter fraud? Yeah, well, it happened again. And this time, James O'Keefe, what do they like to call James? He's a discredited journalist because he edits his videos. Isn't that what they say? Same thing that CBS News does on 60 Minutes. In fact, every news outlet edits their videos. So it's because there are hours and hours and hours and hours spent, and he edits it down to a compact little piece of information, like watching Brenda here, who's, by the way, Brenda, you'll see in a second here, she has been rolled up by the feds for paying people to register to vote. And here's why she paid people to register to vote. It was cigarettes or $10 or something, or whatever it was. And it was because she was getting paid bank to get signatures on petitions. Among them, in all likelihood, the wonderful one that's going to get rid of billionaires in California. They sought out to tax them to death, but now they're just getting rid of them because the fact is, billionaires are leaving the state of California and taking their capital and taxable income away from the state of California because these boobs decided to listen to the ridiculous Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders. Let's go. Here we go. Watch this. Watch, and I will. Hold on now. James, you're going too fast for me because I've got to bring it up so you can see it. I want you to see this vid right now, this second, over here. Let me make sure. Stand by. We're on my old story. I'm going to share this instead. And let's watch.
The petitioner, Brenda Brown, hands cash money to the homeless person, not only for signing the California ballot initiative, but also as payment for them to register to vote.
Now, because you haven't registered, I need to register you so I can get paid too. Man, you guys, I need to get paid. Come on.
That is a federal felony. And it didn't just happen once. It happened over and over and over again. We personally witnessed and covertly filmed this happening at least 28 times over the span of our investigation. Yeah. And that is just in Los Angeles. Many of the homeless have zero understanding of what it is that they're actually signing.
But what is that petition for? You know the petition for? I don't know.
The petitioners instruct the homeless to enter made-up addresses like Pinocchio Lane.
What do I put as my address?
Yeah, just put up. You live on Pinocchio Lane?
Oh, you can just take it out.
Oh, good.
And all of this occurring just outside the front doors of shelters and NGOs such as Weingart Center.
Okay, so that is James's video. That was a Real America Voice that purloined that perfectly legally and put it on their air, and that's where I saw it on Twitter, although I'd seen it on James's feed. For whatever reason, I couldn't find it on his feed. I don't even know how that happened. Nevertheless, and there seems to be a transition with James O'Keefe right now. I mean, I'm seeing a journalism project. I'm seeing Project Veritas renamed, or, name checked in some of this stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, James was forced out of Project Veritas. And now it's his logo with his OMG group. And then there's there's Project Veritas, and then there's another journalistic enterprise of individual civilian citizen journalists that are mentioned in this whole troika of organizations, which makes me go, what's going on? I mean, it's nothing bad necessarily. I'm just kind of like, what's going on? Okay, so that's Brenda. Brenda, sadly to say, Brenda's been rolled up on the feds on one felony count. Now, one felony count we think might go away at some point because Brenda's probably singing like a bird. Brenda be singing like a bird. And so this voter thing, I think, is worth 5 years in the slammer, in the Fed pen. I mean, we're not talking Martha Stewart Club Fed situation, okay? Could be, who knows? It's a thing. And the reason we even suspect this is because that's what the feds always do. They always get one person, and that person tells two people, and they tell on two people, and they squeal, and they do whatever in order to reduce their sentence for doing the very thing for which they were rolled up in the first place. And so here she is again. Brenda, now O'Keefe does something incredibly brave here. I mean, not to say that he is incredibly brave anyway. He's incredibly brave when the left sues him. He's incredibly brave when he does his work. He's incredibly brave when he was ousted from his own organization. And there was some political ramifications for that, and political benefit to, cui bono. And how did Veritas seem to come out on the better end of this? Well, Veritas is virtually, and I haven't heard about them for a while. They've done some things, but James is still out there. Okay. So that's very interesting. Here they are again. We are going to share this deal here. So Brenda talks to James, and she's singing like a bird. Now watch this. Can you imagine? Oh, and you can't see that for some reason. Damn it. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
And the Department of Justice is looking into this because you gave cash for a voter registration form. You know it's a federal crime, right?
So what's going on? What's going on?
Well, what's going on is I'm a journalist, and I published a video about it.
I'm going to roll back a little bit so you can see it because I stupidly didn't manage to get that up. There.
Hey, Brenda Brown?
Yes, sir.
Hey, may I talk to you for a moment? How you doing? How you doing? James O'Keefe. No, this is the cash that you gave for registration form. It's a federal felony. It's a federal felony to give cash.
Oh, but then, so what's going on now?
This is you on tape.
So what's going on?
What's going on is that it's a federal crime. And the Department of Justice is looking into this because you gave cash for a voter registration form. You know it's a federal crime, right?
So what's going on? What's going on?
Well, what's going on is I'm a journalist, and I published a video about it. That's you, right?
Ask you why you did it.
Why'd you do it? Who do you work for? Who's giving you the cash?
Join the good guys.
Join us. Be a hero. Blow the whistle on it, Brenda.
Come to our side.
Come to our side.
Get off. You could be a hero and tell the world who's giving you the cash. We want to work with you.
I'll talk to you, but I want to talk to them.
I'm okay.
You come in, but not them.
Okay. Very good. I'll do that.
Come on. Got your thing right there.
Here you go. Just me, right?
Yeah, come on.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Brenda Brown did not agree to speaking on the record, but she did surrender some very interesting documentation.
Uh-oh.
Brenda handed us a stack of petitions which she had not submitted yet, and something immediately caught our attention. Under declaration of circulator, Brenda hadn't signed it herself. It was instead signed by a man named Stephen Nelson, along with his address. So we tracked down this Stephen Nelson to figure out why.
How do you know Brenda?
Okay, then this guy, I mean, honestly, this dude, he obfuscates lies, does the old yuck him up. And I can't believe this. He was just very chill about it. Well, I have no idea about this. And so what that was people being caught on tape, and there were other people as well. Indeed, there was one more that James, and this is James O'Keefe. His work has rolled up Brenda. Now I'm going to fast forward to this guy. And here's the big boss, this dude right here. His name's Tom Moore. And Tom Moore paid Brenda. And so we've got a full circle here. And I'll tell you what happened in a second.
She still works for you though, right? She did. She hasn't turned in a long time.
Because Brenda was paying in Skid Row. There's a video.
Yeah, I know. That's why we don't deal with her anymore.
Because you found out that she was paying cash.
Can't say that.
Okay.
I can't say anything about that.
Because she was paying $2 to $3 to.
And that is illegal, and she should be fined, and she should be sent to jail. That's my opinion on it.
Yes, Mr. Moore.
If we do something wrong out there, we should be prosecuted.
The journalist then questions Mr. Moore on whether he is aware that the petitioners are not just paying the homeless to sign, but also providing them with fraudulent names and addresses of registered voters. And where they might be getting that information.
Now, where have we seen this before? Where have we seen guys on Skid Row getting fake name, or not fake names, they're actual names of voters, and then they impersonate said voters on petitions? Now, if you are a person who doesn't want to believe that there is such a thing as fraud here, and you say, there's no proof. There's only a few people every year get caught, blah, blah, blah. This is a wholesale crime that's been going on. And where have we seen this before? Why, we've seen this before in San Francisco. And we've seen it on the streets, same MO. People paying for signatures on these petitions. And it is shocking to say the very least. But we've seen it, and we've shown it to you before on this particular program, as a matter of fact. Now, he continues, because this is interesting. Now, I want you to pay a special attention to what he talks about and the app he encourages his people, including Brenda, to use.
Some people will go to the roll, actually go down to one of the cities and get the registers roll. Okay,
There's a data app that they use too. That seems to be extracted from the DMV.
Correct, and that we use that all the time.
We use it all the time.
You use it?
Oh, yes.
For what reason?
To check to see if they're registered to vote.
To vote. And what is that app called? What is that?
SigValid.com.
SigValid.com.
You heard right. Tony Moore names SigValid.com. The same SigValid.com that we caught fraudulent petitioners using to find registered voter names and addresses, and then giving them to the unregistered homeless so that they can forward their signatures.
Yeah, is that all? Is that it? Is that all? Now, it might come as no surprise to you, as you've seen photos and the terrible zombie land that LA has turned into, to learn that this particular area of Los Angeles, indeed all of Los Angeles, is now, of the homeless population. Chris Rufo just did just sort of a breakdown on it. And what it boils down to is that 60% of the people who are homeless, these are addicts. Okay, let me just be honest here. They're addicts. They're people who don't want to go to shelters, if indeed they are without homes, but they've run away from home. They've come from the burbs. They left another part of the country to come to LA because the sun is shining, and the weed and all the other attendant crapola that one might ingest is a lot cheaper. We've heard that time and again on the streets of San Diego, San Francisco, LA, Portland and Seattle. These are the pulse points of all the homeless tourism that goes on in the United States of America. And in LA, 60%, I think it was let me just double check his numbers here because he did a little study on it. Yeah, 64% of the people who claim to be homeless on the streets of LA are from somewhere else, outside of California. 40% are outside of California. 6% are from outside the U.S. So they came from somewhere else. Now, this is the one thing, and I know there are some people who are legitimately shelterless. They are decent people and they need to be helped, and they find help. And I've talked to those people before. And I think that, if we actually stopped giving away our resources to people who don't deserve them, like people who don't want to get better and get clean in order to receive amenities from the government, and that means your wallet, they should be helped. Those people, the others who want to be helped, they should be helped. The others who don't want to be helped should not be helped. Sorry, that's just the way I feel, because I know some of these folks and they don't necessarily want to get helped. And they'd rather sleep outside. I used to, anyway, I could tell you stories. But that's it. That's primarily the idea behind the problem with homelessness in LA. Well, some of those homeless, not only, remember, it was last week I talked about the story I did about the dogs being poisoned right near MacArthur Park, Skid Row, that area, drug den run by the cartels. And a guy who saves dogs went in there and captured and looked at and reported back on dogs that are being abused in the open, dogs that are having their owner's drugs tested on them. And if they die, then the owner will not take the drugs. But if they don't die, that's okay. But still, the dog has drugs shot up in said, or they get so high, these addicts do, homeless addicts do, that they do little experiments on the dogs and they wound them and they hurt them. I'm not, I know a dog's a dog. I got it. I'm not going to start crying on you, but I'm a dog mom, or I was. And I got news for you. I don't put up with a lot of that crap. And I don't think most other people don't either. I'm not going to start singing those songs, those sad songs, because I can't stand those commercials, and most people can't either. I want you to know that if I saw somebody hurting a dog on a LA street, I'd probably want to take the dog. I'd probably get arrested for it. See, that's the problem. Anyway, so the story continues because now, of course, Brenda got arrested. And she showed up in court yesterday, and the head of the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ was there to take her plea. And so Brenda was in court, and the head of the Civil Rights Division, Harmeet, talked about it in a news conference yesterday.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here and for your patience this morning as we ironed out a couple of technical difficulties.
And may I say, as a person who was trying to watch that news conference yesterday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning and went online at 8 o'clock just to make sure I was in the proper queue, and then you couldn't hear anything, and I was not the only person to whom that happened, I think that they ought to get involved, the DOJ, the USAO, Central District of California, ought to get involved in live streaming these things. And then the rest of us have a fighting chance, because between two sources, by the way, WebEx sucks. Oh, okay, that just does. Sorry, just got to punch in here for a second, because that was a monstrous display yesterday. So those are the technical difficulties she's talking about, which were never fixed.
I'm Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dhillon, in charge of the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice. And after I speak, I'll introduce my colleagues here. And so today we're announcing the filing of two criminal cases that represent the continuing commitment of the United States Department of Justice and Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to combat both hate crimes and to ensure the integrity of all of our federal elections. Both of these cases reflect joint investigative efforts of the FBI, the Civil Rights Division, and United States Attorney's Office of the Central District of California here in Los Angeles. So first I want to talk about voter fraud and the case of United States versus Brown Armstrong, and we'll have a graphic up there in a moment. The Department of Justice has charged a longtime California signature gatherer under 52 USC section 10307 subsection C with one count of paying another person to register to vote in a federal election. The defendant, Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong, has signed a plea agreement and has admitted her guilt on this charge. According to the plea agreement, and my colleague Bill Asaley will be able to answer any specific questions about it, she worked as a petition circulator, aka signature gatherer here in Los Angeles for approximately 20 years.
20 years.
And starting in 2025 or so, after Ms. Brown Armstrong had a practice of going down to Skid Row here.
I'm sorry. How do you make a living? Can you make a living and live in LA by circulating petitions? Apparently, it pays quite handsomely. Do you see the inside of her apartment that James O'Keefe was in? It's very nice. That's a nice apartment building. Okay.
Los Angeles, getting homeless people to sign these signature petitions that had to do with qualifying ballot measures and et cetera. She would sometimes find that the signatures would be disqualified because the people signing these signature petitions weren't actually registered to vote. So to remedy this flaw in her business arrangements, she would then gather, starting in 2025, stacks of voter registration forms from the Los Angeles County Registrar of Voters, and then go to Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles to have homeless people first sign the voter registration forms and then sign the signature petitions. And she did this in exchange for cash and other items of value, inducements both for the voter registration and for the signature petitions. These were often small sums of cash, just a few dollars, as well as cigarettes and phone cards.
Oh, phone
on
cards. There you go.
On several occasions when the homeless person had no formal address to enter on the voter registration form, Ms. Brown Armstrong provided them with a fake address, namely her own former address in Los Angeles, to write on the voter registration form.
Now, where do you suppose those ballots went, everybody? Where do you think they went? I don't think we have to wonder very long to figure out that those ballots went to old Brenda's house. And now we want to know what Brenda did with those ballots and if they got voted by Brenda. You know, they used to do this kind of thing. In Oregon, Washington, and California, the West Coast, they have changed the law so that people who are addicted and homeless on the street can claim things as bizarre as a bench by the Willamette River as their domicile to get a ballot and register to vote. I know you need to have something else entirely. You need to have an address. I remember doing stories about the different places that were doing work with the homeless kids and others, and they needed a place to have an address. You can't get some benefits and that sort of thing. Of course, now everything's electronic, but nevertheless, they needed addresses, and a lot of these places provided that address. There's nothing to say that that's illegal, but what is illegal is to provide this erroneous information and say that's where you live for purposes of a federal ballot and breaking a federal law in exchange for things of value. That is, that's a bozo no-no, everybody. Just remember that. We're bringing bozo no-no back.
Now, the potential charges, sentence rather, would include 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $10,000. This case is important because it shows how easy it is under California law to corrupt the state's voter rolls and thereby corrupt the state and federal elections administered by the state. Because when someone registers to vote, including with a fake address, in the case of an unknown number of people here, they're mailed ballots that include state and federal elections here in Los Angeles. And so untold numbers of fraudulent voter registrations can be created. The business model is signature gatherers in California, like Ms. Brown Armstrong, are often paid per signature, $10, sometimes upwards of $10. And so we're committed to protecting the integrity of all American elections at the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. But there needs to be a commitment by people and leaders here in California to ensure that the people of our state of California, where I lived for 25 years, can again trust our elections. And so that's the importance of this case.
Okay, so do you believe that? Do you think that the Gavin Newsoms of the world and the Rob Bontas and who's the lieutenant governor? Do we have a lieutenant governor in California? I don't even remember because it's just a job. So, like Gavin Newsom was lieutenant governor, right? So he, just sat around and, cut ribbons and all sorts of things like that for, a 4-year term. And then he ran for governor and said, well, I'm qualified. Obviously, I've been in Sacramento for all these years and I know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, nobody. And now, of course, based on results, everybody knows he was really bad at his job. So, but anyway, that is what's going on now in the state of California. Do you believe that he will do anything about it? Oh, heck no. Of course not. Don't be silly. But that is old Brenda, man. Brenda's in trouble. Brenda is in trouble. Here we go. And they signed us, what they do is they start small, right? It's like the whole James Comey situation where, well, we're going to get him on. Well, he did put out a threat to the president of the United States, which he did on Instagram. And you can decide whether or not that's benign. But as the former director of the FBI, remember with that shell formation, I just saw an interesting shell formation. And it says 8647. And of course, a guy, he knows what that meant. He was lying when he said, I didn't know that. That's what that meant. BS. Stop, yanking our chain or peeing down our leg and telling us it's raining. You are a disgrace and abomination. But my guess is, and I'm going to be doing a sort of a deeper dive on this. Old James has got some other stuff that he's going to have to answer for, and that might just be this one in North Carolina, this case, or it's going to be maybe just in addition to, there will be other maybe over a superseding indictment on this particular charge with threatening the president of the United States. I mean, and let's face it, James Comey of all people. What? Of course, on the other hand, this guy's mad. And he's mad because Donald Trump outed him for the fraud that he is on the whole Russia thing. And so that is, makes him look bad. Says, I don't like him. He should be in jail. He's a traitor and all this other stuff. He says what everybody's thinking, the president, I mean. And so that's why that's why he's in trouble. And that's why John Brennan's in trouble, the former director of the CIA, who worked with Comey, as well as John, the head of he was the DNI. I'll think of it in a second. They all went together to talk to the president before he took office. He was the president-elect. They went to his office at Trump Tower, sat around, and then James Comey told the guys in the limo before he, they were giving Trump an alleged defensive briefing that sounded more like an extortion attempt. And indeed it was, actually. So we had them brief the president on the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier, which we now know is just bunk, right? And they're made up stories. Have you ever seen the Steele dossier, by the way? It's like a folder full of memos, some of which are handwritten. It is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And you think, oh, okay, so you paid thousands of dollars to Christopher Steele to get this deal here? Oh, yes, as a matter of fact, Hillary Clinton did do that through the outfit GPS. Why am I, hey, I got to get all up on it again. I'm forgetting some of these names. And that was the individual running that was a guy who was a former Wall Street Journal reporter, making bank on putting together apparently bogus information or Oppo research and that sort of thing. And that's what they did. Okay. And then they went to other people, including a former MI6 agent and also a former suspected Russian spy, to make this whole thing, give it a patina of, I don't know, degradation? I don't know. Anyway, they also swore And this is where James Comey comes in. Besides the fact that he did that to inoculate himself so that he could tell the media, because CNN, they all knew about the Steele dossier, right? All the media knew about it. So what they wanted to do was they wanted to launder this fabulistic information through the media in order to make it look legit, because it's a circle. They do the circle. They plant the misinformation. They shop the misinformation, and even the people in the media, the Daily Beast. I mean, they did not want to run this because it was so obviously bogus. But then CNN, he said, well, I'll tell you what, you'll get a news peg if I inform the president of this information. James Comey, through his Columbia University law professor friend who had an in at the New York Times and apparently at CNN, told him that, hey, listen, if I tell him, then that gives you a news peg to use to talk about the Steele dossier. And the next thing we know, then it's all printed. So it's printed and it's talked. In fact, CNN got pissed off because who was it? Another publication printed it first. And it was all bogus. And they all got Lucite blocks for it. They all got trophies, journalism trophies for this bad reporting. So that was James Comey's fault. And so he's going to he was in on that. He knew it was fake. He went to the FISA court and got a spy warrant to spy on a man who had just been elected president of the United States of America. And he did it because he was a Russian spy when he knew he wasn't a Russian spy. Be that as it may. So that is sort of the long tail on that kite. And I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. We've got more updates on some other important stories, I believe. And we're going to do that after we get to, I would say, the most important story, and that is the Iran SITREP, which we do on Tuesdays here on the Adult in the Room podcast. Now, very sleepy May 19th. And I go to Max Meislish. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. And did I pronounce it correctly?
You did.
Yay, thanks. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying to read the tea leaves. Like General Jack Kane pointed out the fact that we've been on a pause for this Iran excursion as longer now than we had actually conducted the war. And so one wonders if this latest pause, which has happened over the weekend, is yet another ruse by the Iranians and the IRGC. Oh, good. I've been really having a day. I've had a very interesting day. IRGC. And so, yeah. How is this being read by your organization, by you? I mean, you are a guy who's an expert on these internecine situations going on with Iran, from cryptocurrencies and the kleptocracy to the kinetic war. What do you see?
Sure. There's a lot going on at the same time. With respect to the ceasefire, it's correct, right? The ceasefire has gone on for several weeks, longer than the actual fighting of the kinetic war. And so right now what we're in is in the midst of this campaign of economic fury, which is the economic parallel to Operation Epic Fury. And so, it's too difficult to say right now who's really in charge, who's running the show on the Iranian side with respect to the ongoing negotiation and the ceasefire. President Trump has said that there's going to be hell to pay. He's going to attack the Iranians, but then perhaps respecting a potential extension of this ceasefire on behalf of some of our regional allies in the Gulf. But what we know right now is that the U.S. is still continuing the fight on the economic domain and with respect to the blockade. And so, at the time of our recording here, it's on Tuesday, the 19th. Just earlier, there was a report from the Wall Street Journal coming out saying that just the previous night, so Monday night, U.S. naval forces interdicted an Iranian Shadow Fleet tanker in the Indian Ocean, I believe. And so this is, I believe, the third instance of the U.S. actually taking such action. And so you can see here that this is another extension of the economic fury campaign, where we are talking about a military means with an economic end, right? So a military instrument of the Navy actually coming in and fighting this war during the ceasefire, right? Fighting the economic campaign here, preventing the Iranians from having assets that generate revenue for the regime actually going back to Iran. Now, it's important to note, though, that with respect to this interdiction and this seizure, there are reports that the United States seized a tanker that was already empty. And so why is this relevant? It's relevant because on the one hand, it's good that the U.S. is taking the fight to the enemy in these sites where there's illicit ship-to-ship transfers of sanctioned Iranian oil that can generate revenue for the regime in real time here right now during the ceasefire. But at the same time, what we see from reports is that there's actually been this ship-to-ship transfer. So the seized tanker might already be empty, which means that there's another tanker on the loose, likely going to China, where 90% of Iran's exported oil ultimately ends up.
Oh, how are they doing that?
Through several different means. The Chinese are experts in facilitating Iranian sanctions evasion. So there's various corridors and alternative financial payment systems that they use. The Chinese have developed the SIPS infrastructure, which is an alternative to the Western-led SWIFT infrastructure of payments and messaging system that connects banks across the world. So SIPS is the Chinese alternative. We know that there's Iranian banks that participate in SIPS. There's correspondent banking relationships between firms in Western capitals all across the world that tie in through shell companies, opaque trust structures, moving funds on behalf of the Iranian regime and playing this game of whack-a-mole, essentially, where they set up all of these shell companies to ultimately move funds on behalf of the regime. And then there's also more alternative systems of moving funds through barter arrangements, right? The Chinese might sell cars to Iran that then are finished in Iran for sale in the Iranian market, while the Iranians send oil in return, or they might have an oil for metals arrangement as well.
Huh. So they're on the open sea, or at least in the Strait of Hormuz or Persian Gulf or other bodies of water in Indian Ocean. You said they pull up beside each other, and it's like an inner air, how we do it with our KC-135s when we give gas to another, like an airline or an airplane, I should say, a fighter jet or what have you. And so that's what they're doing with the oil, huh?
Yeah, more or less. So, we have this entire fleet of shadow fleet tankers. So the dark fleet, so to speak, operates on behalf of sanctioned countries like Iran, Russia, to some extent North Korea. We saw this also with Venezuela before Maduro was taken out. In some way also benefiting Cuba. And so the way this works is we have oil, right, unrefined crude oil that departs Iran, and it's going to go to wherever it can be sold. And so the way to do this, to obfuscate that transaction, since a lot of these tankers can be tracked and they've already been sanctioned, and so that creates sanctions exposure downstream or from ports that might accept shipments. What they do is they go out into the open ocean, or they go into hotspots for these ship-to-ship transfers. A lot of it occurs off the coast of Malaysia in an area called the EOPL. And they essentially just line up next to each other, and then they have heavy pipes, hoses that connect from one ship to the next. They transfer over that crude oil, and then off they go. And so there's a lot of ships out there where they've been sanctioned by the United States, and they might pull up alongside another ship that hasn't been sanctioned yet, or maybe it has, and then there's cloud cover, and they're utilizing that to obfuscate the transfer of that oil. But yeah, essentially they line up right next to each other and then move on their way.
So Trump had this meeting with President Xi and China, and if China's getting its oil in that sort of manner, then they're getting what they want to some extent. I'm sure they're not getting everything they would like to have. But what did you read about that meeting between the two, that state visit in Beijing, and to what extent do you think that this moved the ball to peace in Iran or anything else? Is there anything beneficial to come of it?
I think we're a far way away from peace in Iran, at least when it comes to the Chinese helping in that regard. Like I said, the Chinese are the chief enabler of Iranian sanctions evasion. They buy 90% of Iran's exported oil supply, which provides about half the revenue for Iran's Revolutionary Guard and military. So these hardline elements that keep the regime in power. What I know for certain is that there's a lot of levers that the United States could pull against China, because China has a lot of macroeconomic vulnerabilities and is susceptible to leverage and influence from the United States in terms of our economic statecraft. But at a high level, from the Trump-Xi summit, something notable is the fact that both sides have actually aligned on the narrative of strategic stability, which I think is interesting because this is really coming from the Chinese side, where the Chinese want to appear as a peer to the United States, not just a competitor, but a peer, right? A leading partner in global affairs on the same level as the United States. And I think it's a worrying trend here that we see the United States actually agreeing to use the language of quote unquote strategic stability. And so why do I think this is a problem? Really, it's a problem when we have strategic stability without accountability. And so there's a lot that the United States should be holding China accountable for with respect to its support for Iran. But right now, we're not really seeing it. And so, to be fair, there has been an uptick in some sanctions enforcement. We've seen some action against Chinese teapot refineries, which are these somewhat smaller refineries than the large state-owned entities. But they are the ones responsible for taking in all of this Iranian oil. And so there has been some sanctions designations put in place on the teapot refineries from here and there. But there's a lot more that the United States could be doing, because we know that there's major Chinese financial institutions that are enabling some of this trade as well. So I went through before to your question, how are they actually financing all of this? Well, some of it just involves these traditional banking infrastructure. Like I said, there's SIPs that connects banks between China and Iran. And so what the United States could do is actually threaten to sanction one of these or more than one firms in China or in Hong Kong, for instance, which is a major hub for global financial transactions. And the Treasury Department could also utilize a tool like Section 311 of the USA Patriot Act, which essentially can actually be deployed to cut off dollar access to an entire bank, or with respect to an entire class of transactions, or with respect to an entire jurisdiction. So there's a lot of levers here that the US could employ against China if it wanted China to actually bring more force to bear with respect to coercing Iran to abide by the terms of a US favored agreement. But right now, the administration just isn't doing that. And instead, it's pursuing this path of quote unquote strategic stability.
Do you think that, do you think Trump knows what he's doing here?
I think President Trump is keenly aware of the fact that there's multiple fronts in this battle, right? So we have the kinetic battle, but then there's also the battle of the market. And so the market has been turbulent, to say the least, right? Quite volatile during the course of this war. And what we know is that China is incredibly exposed, and downstream of Chinese exposure to economic disruption can be pain for the global economy, right? China is the largest manufacturer in the world, right? It's the manufacturer to the world. It's the largest importer of energy in the world. Downstream from China is the petrochemical sector, the plastic sector. It provides all these inputs and goods that go out to trading partners, either in the United States or abroad in the EU, but also a lot in Asia, right? Countries that actually manufacture a lot in their own respect. And so if China feels pain from this conflict, it could threaten to put countries in Asia on the verge of an economic recession, which would be pretty painful for the global economy. So I think on the one hand, President Trump is recognizing that there's the economic battle to fight here, right? And some level of stability that he's trying to preserve in the markets. We know that he cares a lot about how the stock market performs. But again, to my point here about where China is vulnerable and where the U.S. could be applying maximum pressure, right? We've heard this maximum pressure slogan over and over again. A restoration of maximum pressure 2.0 in President Trump's second term, and now we have economic fury. In my view, I think that fighting in the middle of the war is exactly when we should be applying that maximum pressure. And there's a lot more that we could actually do to make it stick.
Why doesn't he just want to finish the job? I mean, he wants them to finish it, but if he does it this way and he leaves the same players in this position to oversee this country, then it won't be as, we need to get rid of these guys, right? I mean, shouldn't the Iranians have their own country back? I know that
I would agree. I think that the people of Iran deserve to not be living under a theocratic kleptocracy, right? Where we have essentially a fanatic religious cult at the top that's not really truly respecting the principles of Islam, right? Then also leading a kleptocratic regime with oligarchy and corruption, right? Preferential contracts going to regime insiders, not benefiting the people at all. And so the reality here is that absent regime change, to your point, we're going to be dealing with the same entities as we've been dealing with for decades. And so the same problems that came from them, the terror financing, the corruption, the theft of the state property, killing all of the innocent people protesting against their government, right? Tens of thousands of people earlier this year killed by the Iranian regime. It's the same party that's going to be in power there. So now is the time to actually apply that maximum pressure and go from a period of bumper sticker to real behavior change in Tehran.
Yeah. Here's what the president told anybody who was listening. And for whatever reason, I didn't look and didn't care why the Mark Cuban was there, but it was kind of funny to see him in a picture. Listen,
said we were
there he is.
getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also. We've informed Israel. We've informed other people in the Middle East that have been involved with us. And, it's a very positive development, but we'll see whether or not it amounts to anything.
Notice he didn't say Pakistan in that whole diatribe. Wasn't there, let me just see if I can find that, the Pakistani story, because Pakistan helps Iran hide its planes. Despite mediating the U.S.-Iran war, Pakistan allowed Iranian aircraft use of its air bases to avoid American strikes. Was there some tell that we should know, or were there some tea leaves we need to read that you can only read and your ability as a sort of an economic strategist that we should read into that, the whole thing?
This is going to be an instance where there might be a lot going on below the surface that we just don't know about, right? Maybe we won't know about for several years until there's really good reporting on everything that's happened here over the last several weeks. But I think that arguably one could make the argument here that Pakistan isn't a truly neutral party, right? And if we're going to have a mediator, we need to have a neutral party in that position of influence, brokering peace, hopefully between all the relevant stakeholders. And so what we know is that Pakistan opened up its airspace. It opened up a military base for these planes to actually land,
and hide,
right, and be safe from attack from U.S. or Israeli forces. But also, there's an element to which the Pakistanis are allowing for some vessels to move through the U.S. blockade, utilizing Pakistani territorial waters, right? So we have to respect the fact that the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports and Iranian waters only applies to their waters and international waters. And so Pakistan neighbors Iran, and what we know is that some ships have actually made their way out of the blockade by going through Pakistani waters. And it's Pakistan that allows it to happen. And so on the one hand, you could say, well, they're allowing it to happen because they're trying to be neutral. Or from my perspective, I think that there's more that Pakistan could do to help maintain the status quo of the conflict rather than enabling Iran to actually get its assets out or allow for more evasion of that blockade. So in my view, Pakistan isn't truly a neutral mediator in this conflict. And maybe that helps explain why the president isn't talking about Pakistan right now.
Yeah. He name-checked all the other countries. Is there some reason you think that he did that?
So what we know is that the Gulf countries are worried about this conflict erupting again, right, in terms of military effect. We know that a lot of the Gulf countries, especially the UAE in particular, have suffered a great deal of economic damage from Iranian strikes. And if the hostilities break into kinetic warfare again, then they're going to be targeted in a very severe way. And so these countries are quite vulnerable to the shock of Iranian attack, even with all that the United States has done to degrade Iran's ballistic missile capability and its air force, its navy capabilities. The Iranians still maintain a great degree of military hardware and equipment and skill in terms of attacking their neighbors in the Gulf. And so I think that the Gulf countries want to be assured by whatever step the United States is going to take moving forward, because frankly, what we've seen from the United States is a little bit of an on again, off again with respect to whether we're going to attack and start this war again. So
it is worrisome.
Yeah, they're looking for stability, right? I think they'd be willing to back President Trump in finishing the job with Iran, but what they're not comfortable with is this on again, off again posture, where they're not quite sure if their infrastructure, if their people are going to be safe, and if they aren't going to be safe, when they're not going to be safe.
Well, I mean, but they're the ones who paused it, right? I mean, it was at their behest that we paused this latest thing. Do you believe that the president was going to start something today, kinetic, and that he held it off because all these countries just said that, oh yeah, probably they've asked me not to do anything. Do you buy that? Do you think he was ready to go with something?
I think I've stopped trying to make sense of the on again, off again. To be fair, I wish that I did know. But like I said, there's a lot going on behind the scenes here that we're just not privy to. And so there could be something under the radar that we're just not aware of that could be explaining some of this on again, off again nature about the attacks. But I think that at the end of the day, President Trump doesn't really want to go ahead and restart kinetic warfare. I think that he would prefer to find a pathway for an agreement in which the Iranians give up some form of their nuclear enrichment capacity, whatever enriched uranium that they have on the ground right now. Maybe some commitment for a moratorium for 20 years, I believe he said, would be acceptable from his perspective. So if President Trump can secure a deal that he can say is a win to the American people, I think that's something that he would take right now, given the fact that this conflict has dragged on. And frankly, to what the general had said previously, we've been in a period of ceasefire for longer than we were actually at war.
Yeah. Well, you're the economic statecraft expert, and I know you have to go pretty quick because I'm over my time, but I do kind of wonder what you think might be going on behind the scenes that we can't see. What are some strings being pulled, in your opinion?
I think the U.S. is pushing a pretty hard bargain for the Iranians to accept, right? So the United States wants Iran to give up its nuclear enrichment capacity. It wants it to give up its enriched uranium. It wants the Iranians to stop supporting their terrorist proxies. All of these are things that the Iranian regime just simply can't afford to give up if it's going to maintain its grip on power. And it's like a parasite, right? Like I said, it's a kleptocratic, theocratic regime. It'll do anything to survive. And so it's fighting till it can't fight any longer. And right now, I think the regime itself feels as though it's in a position of strength,
right?
Even though it has been really damaged economically. The problem, though, is that for all of the pain and suffering that the Iranian economy is actually facing right now, and it's significant, and we should continue this fight, we should continue to degrade the enemy's ability to wage warfare and threaten U.S. and allied interests. The reality of the fact is that the regime itself is still insulated from some of this pain because oil at sea, like I said, through the ship transfers, all that's still going on. We still know that there's smuggling routes going out of Iraq out of Iran into Iraq. There's all these trade houses, gold smuggling across the world that benefits the regime and their kleptocratic allies and insiders. So there's more that we need to do. We actually have to apply that maximum pressure if we're going to strangle the regime insiders rather than just hitting the Iranian economy writ large which I think that the regime can actually withstand a lot of that pain because they don't care if the innocent people suffer at their expense.
No, they don't care. They don't care. But it's a bunch of kleptocratic crypto bros running this joint, right? And can't we empty their wallets? I know that would be wrong, but I mean.
Well, so what we've actually seen is the Treasury Department taking action, seizing several hundreds of millions of dollars of stablecoin funds, U.S. dollar-backed stablecoins. So that's a positive move. We should be seeing more of that. Interestingly, Iran's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Novatex, has not been sanctioned by the United States. That's something that we could do. I think that would be meaningful, if not for the impact, but at least for the symbolic effect. We know that cryptocurrency and Iran's crypto sector falls within the scope of U.S. sanctions prohibiting dealings in Iran's financial sector. So it's already prohibited, but it would be good to specifically designate the largest cryptocurrency exchange that actually is facilitating a lot of Iranian sanctions evasion. But beyond that, right, we also know that there's just a lot of Chinese enabling of this activity. Chinese criminal money laundering networks, which are involved in a whole host of illicit financial money laundering flows, ranging from anything related to fentanyl production, drugs entering the United States with criminal cartels coming out of Mexico. They're all tied into the same networks that launder these funds for bad actors. So again, right, there really is no more important party to tackle here with respect to the enabling environment that allows the regime to survive than going after China.
Oh, I think he's doing that kind of in a way. Somebody just wrote in and said the IRGC has cut off the internet, selling access to the internet to people who are paying exorbitant prices. Yeah, there's no. They have an intranet that they allow the peasants to participate in, but outside information is very scarce unless those people have, a Starlink. You are the economic statecraft master. You are, Max Meislish. I appreciate you coming on the Victoria Taft and Adult in the Room podcast today. I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
We appreciate everything you guys do over at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies as well. Thank you once again for giving your expertise to us on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Wow. Okay. IRGC's cut off the internet. Yeah, we know. It's true. It is true. They haven't had the internet for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. After the IRGC and the Besiege went to the streets and just, the IRGC called the Besiege dudes and said, hey, you guys, okay, so here's the way it is. Take your guns and go shoot anybody, enough critical mass of people to get them to stop protesting against us. And we'll see how it works out. And 40,000 people, dead bodies later, that's what happened. And so I am kind of surprised we haven't. First of all, I don't know that they haven't been getting people set with more Starlinks. I have to believe that that's happening. I have to believe special operators are in there, that the Mossad is in there, and we are arming people with things that will protect themselves and things that will save themselves, and food and water and everything. Food's and water's getting scarce. There's triple-digit inflation in Iran right now. I mean, the people are not happy. And so as a result, they are hankering to get in a fight. Indeed, there are people on the streets. I'm told, I see, and Tuzi reports on this as well. Tuzi TV, by all means, follow that guy. He's hilarious, in addition to being very smart about it. But they are going and picking fights with besieged dudes, and they're, with rocks and sticks and all kinds of things. And yes, I'm sure people are getting hurt and worse. But there are people who are the bona fide bad guys who are getting theirs as well. I mean, they're going after the besiege on the streets. So it's just because we don't hear about it. I mean, there was that one reporter from the West who was on the streets of Tehran. Whatever happened to that guy? Is he still reporting for CNN? Does anybody know? Put it in the comment section. I'd like to know. Oh yeah, food is so expensive that basic groceries are considered luxury. Yeah, that's sort of the way it is on the West Coast, because everything's more expensive because all the gas prices were already way too expensive before the Iran situation happened. In California, they have ushered out so many oil refineries and will not tap any of their oil wells, of which there are billions of barrels just waiting to be taken out of the earth and used for gas. They don't do it. They won't do it. You know what they're doing? California, yes, not to get off on a tangent, but California gets a lot of its gas from and energy from the Strait of Hormuz. It is felony dumb. And they have, let's see, what was it? I think it was 104 military installations in the state of California. And Gavin Newsom wants to run for president, and he suggests to the American people that he's a guy who can be trusted with national security. To that, I would say, and what have you done to help the military installations? I know they have their own logistical situation, but it would be nicer if they could avail themselves of gas that's local. Okay, from Camp Pendleton to the MCRD, up to the Presidio, and farther beyond on in the Mojave Desert, we have military installations. There are military installations in the state of California. I didn't even know they were there, and I was a reporter in California for, over a decade and a half or something. So you do kind of pay attention when somebody is just so cavalierly willing to give away the security to the people of their state, as well as giving care and feeding, to put it in one way, to the people who keep you safe, nationally speaking. Gavin Newsom has shown himself to be completely unable and not up to the task for that. And I cannot even imagine somebody saying, yes, I will give my national security, I will give my personal security to a guy who let the sagebrush and other chaparral get so high around the Pacific Palisades that it just went up in flames, who had support of rules and regulations that disallowed firefighters from putting out a fire that sparked up a week later and devastated 7,000 homes in Pacific Palisades. I mean, when you've got that kind of a governor who doesn't give a flying, flipping frittata about his people in that same result, and I kind of feel like that may be the sort of relationship that the IRGC of Islamic Republic Guard, honestly, just one of those days. I've just been off. I mean, in a certain way, it's just the weirdest thing. Anyway, so so they care. I mean, I feel like he kind of cares about Californians the way the IRGC cares about the people of Iran. In other words, to put it in a short a fashion as possible, he doesn't really give a flying, flipping frittata. So you guys really believe that you're not the terrorist still, huh? Says this. Oh, God, what a weirdo. Yeah, Baby milk and diabetic supplies are almost impossible to get in around. That's a shame. That's terrible. I am not in the least bit surprised. But I have hope that there will be some help coming from Israel as well as the United States on that score. Yeah, Palisades or Palestine. Yeah. That's funny, actually. Thanks, Victoria. Oh, my gosh. Awesome show and paying much-needed attention to the Iranian people. So, okay, you guys, I think you're witnessing my first super chat money. That is so amazing. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. It really does. I mean, I've been doing talk radio for years and years. I'm gonna have you just featured right there. I've been doing talk radio for decades. And, you learn a lot. You do. And you do shows. You plan them. You plan them like you are planning a SpaceX launch. Every jot and tittle. Not today, obviously. But, I mean, you try. It takes a lot of effort. So I appreciate you being there. That is just amazing. I'm going to screenshot it. So I hope I don't just mess everything up. Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, we just got it monetized. Because this has been a kind of a sleepy show for a long time. We just do wonky topics and that sort of thing. And it wasn't until we decided, well, you know what? We want to make a greater impact, right? And said, let's do live stream, and not one, but 2 live streams a week, and most people do a daily live streams. You know what I found out? I watch podcasts. I watch live streams. I love this stuff myself. I love information. I love the people on these live streams. They're smart, funny, and fun, and they are educational. If I don't learn anything from a live stream, I feel like, I don't know. I don't know if I need to watch this all the time. So I am a consumer as well as a live streamer myself and content creator, but I don't like to create the story. Okay. That's the difference between me and some other people. That's why I keep it to 2 days a week, because I will lose my soul if I go any farther. I will probably do more shorts and on certain subjects that a lot of people are doing now, and that's fine. And I could do that. But I would just say to you that if you get into a soul-sucking enterprise when you do it every single day. And so I'm trying to protect my sanity, and because I still do some radio, and of course I write full-time over at PJ Media. It's just like, meh, help me, help. Okay, lots of other things I wanted to talk to you about while we have some time. And I wanted to give you, because I know a lot of you were really interested in, obviously, in Iran, a couple of things that Tuesday TV said. Go follow that guy. He's hilarious. And he brings up some stuff that I would bring up, okay? So he's already brought it up. So, like, for example, the IRGC is putting out these troll videos and other kinds of videos that include, remember the ones that we showed you where the women are riding in pink Jeeps around there and they got their AKs out and they're wielding their AK. They're in their burqas, you know. Oh, go. So, yeah, it's funny. It's propaganda, of course. Well, now they're trying to get the men all excited about going to war because, of course, you know, they got to go out and fight and die for their country. Indeed, if they may not die, but you never know. Let's face it, we're going to win if we allow ourselves to. And so they are over there in Tehran. They're doing mass marriages. They're doing they're conducting the joint marriages, planned marriages, dictating, not shotgun, because we all know what that it portends and what that means, but they are doing these weddings and they're doing them en masse, which is to say, who knows how many there were, but so that the men will be satisfied when they go out and give up their lives. And they're not satisfied to go give up their lives and get their 72 virgins, or is it 72 raisins? We're really not terribly sure. However, that's what they're trying to, buck up the guys. And okay. And so you've got women doing, stripping guns and putting guns back together, and which is fine because women can do that because we do that. Women every day do that in the United States of America. And we also, in addition to that, do that in the service of our country. And so that's what they're doing in Iran. But it's just funny. We don't actually make propaganda videos for it. We do lots of other propaganda. I'm not, come on, I'm not that naive. I know that happens. So there's another story that's been in the news. It is this shooting. Oh, wait, before I do that, let's go to Jack Kane. He was on Maria's program. She's Mornings with Maria on CNBC. Where's she? She's Fox News, Fox Business, I'm sorry. And she's also on Fox on Sunday mornings. Here she has Jack Kane on. He's a retired general. And, it was after the announcement that Trump made, which was, you can watch him make this.
And they've said we were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also.
Maybe. I hope he doesn't say that too much. I have no idea what they want. I want the IRGC out of there. I want the nutters and the 12ers that are in that cult to get the hell out and not be in charge of the country. But hey, who am I? Is that something that Trump wants to? I think he does, but is he doing it? I don't know. Here is General Jack Kane going, oh, here we go again, another pause.
We've been at this since April the 8th when we went into a ceasefire mode with the hope for some kind of a negotiated settlement. So we're about 6 weeks into this, which exceeds now the amount of time that we were at war when we went to the ceasefire. And likely, if that war had continued, it would have been over now by a number of weeks. So here we are looking for a deal. And what the Iranians, I think, are up to, and what they have been up to since the ceasefire, is to put some things on the table that look appealing, but yet not willing to really make a deal that makes any sense and is acceptable to the president. And their objective is really to drag this out because they believe in their mind time is on their side. There's more political pressure on the president with the midterms coming and also more economic pressure. And therefore, they think that at the end of the day, he'll just walk away and not do anything more. That is kind of what they're seeking here, in my view.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen if this deal has got any meat on it. All the other ones did not. And I think the president, he's our backstop here. He's not going to take a lousy deal. He has said that before time and time again. As to our allies, the three allies that came forward, Qatar, the UAE, and also Saudi Arabia, I really think we have some leverage here. I understand Iran is likely going to go after their oil and gas infrastructure. They also have significant defense capabilities, as do we in the area, to help assist with that. But the reality is, we can tell the Iranians, if you go after oil and gas infrastructure or our allies in the region, we will begin to systematically destroy your oil and energy capabilities completely. And we'll begin with Cargill.
There you go. So we've already established a presence on Cargill. We've not taken over the oil facility, but we could do that. We have like people. In fact, hey, the people in California, they're not using the oil refineries. You could probably send them over to Cargill and have them spark that bad boy up and be able to run it for you, because California is not using it. I wouldn't be surprised if Elon has found a way to get some Starlinks to the people of Iran. I keep thinking that. I have to believe it. It is a death sentence if people are found to have a Starlink receiver, and Starlink in general, but a receiver is telltale sign from the roofs, and they are the ones who are looking overhead and looking at roofs and using all kinds of electronic surveillance to keep the people in line. So I have to believe that there's got to be a way to secrete Starlink receivers so that they are not visible from the eyeballs in the sky from the IRGC. I mean, I have to think that. We need Israel. Israel needs Starlink so we can see how much damage is being done. Well, there's that true. We do have some satellite imagery. People continue to show satellite imagery from Gaza saying that the bombing the Hamas terrorists is somehow a genocide, which is not. So, but it's pretty bad over there. I'll tell you that much. No wonder President Trump said, hey, we could make something really nice here. Have you ever actually seen where Gaza is? This is what Israel gave up, right? And I mean, it's very nice. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful setting. And Israel has some beachfront property too, and it's gorgeous. And so you can only imagine what Gaza could do. It's about time America did something for herself. That was nice. That ballroom was needed. Oh yeah, it was, because there's going to be Trump went after that issue today. We, of course, it's been a somewhat open secret, but he wasn't really touting it that much until people started complaining about the price. And the price is in the billions. And the reason it's in the billions is not because of the ballroom that's being built on top of this huge, this entity that will include a hospital. And of course, it's the big bunker. And it is a place from which the president could survive a blast of some sort. And so there's a lot more in it would be a center for all things electronic, and it would be beyond the Situation Room. It would be beyond that. Let's see. It was nice of Donald Trump to let the president of Israel take control of the situation. Room to guide the tactics to defeat Iran. Well, doesn't seem to be in the picture right now, and the folks over in Qatar appear to be calling some shots. And Qatar's not our friend. I know that the president. A lot of these guys aren't really our friend, but Qatar especially is not. And so, as long as they play ball and President Trump can parlay that relationship into a help for tamping down the violence and the kinetic action in Iran, then he's using it and getting out what he wants. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't like Qatar. I don't, but that's me. I don't have a home there, and they didn't give me one either. And they didn't give me an Air Force One either. That's another complaint, because Qatar, I guess, a lot of the experts are calling it Qatar. So I know Edmund, what's Edmund's last name? I'm really screwing up the names today. I must be exhausted. I went to a baseball game last night. Does it show? Does a baseball game make me look dumb? Anyway, so yeah. There's a lot of internecine and intrigue going on there, and it's nice to talk with folks. It's nice that the Abraham Accords are holding. That was a huge, big win for the Trump administration. 45. Now we're parlaying those Abraham Accords at Trump 47, and look how much cooperation and/or at least willingness to talk with him that we have never had in the past. So that, I'm sorry, but I think that's a win in so many respects. So as much as I don't like Qatar, I admire the fact that the president was able to do that. And some people say he's transactional, but I think he loves America first. And I think that might be a slogan or something. And but I think he wants to do the right thing for other people without getting people killed. Not a bad thing. The Democrats, we're all doing the Democrats now, huh? Democrats' policies and actions are driven entirely by animosity and hate towards Trump, rather than a desire to solve problems for the American people. I think in general that is apt. It is true. It is sad too. Don't you agree that this is a sad situation? Where, in every level of public servanthood, every level, the dog catcher, the mail carrier. My mom was a mail carrier a million years ago. There's the head of the Pentagon, the president of the United States. You know what their number one requirement is? Security, public safety. That's their number one job. They take oaths to this effect. That's their number one job. And when you see political actors for whom that is not their top priority, it really makes you scared. I mean, I'm not going to go all conspiracy theorist on you and like, oh, we should be afraid of them, but we should not take their word for anything. The only guy I can't even believe I'm saying this, but John Fetterman has this incredibly horrible stroke. He looks like a total utter nincompoop, and then the Democrats elect him, even though he can't think straight. And it's like, what? And now that he's gotten his faculties back, he's the only guy making sense on the Democrat side. So crazy. The other thing, big news in San Diego, and then we've got the update on the Pacific Palisades reappearing. Imagine that, just houses destroyed, reappearing on Google Maps, and that's been wild. That's been a wild story. Okay, so at the San Diego mosque that does, in fact, I've been told two things. It's not the mosque at which Anwar al-Awlaki had his, he taught and that sort of thing before he went to the Virginia mosque that became another headquarters for haters and all manner of terrorists. But he spent some time at the mosque that was attacked yesterday by two kid shooters. I can't tell what's going on, and the FBI ain't saying nothing. But I will tell you, this is what they said today. The cops, the FBI, and the imam, the person who, did I ever tell you about when I went to the San Bernardino mosque that got from whence the two terrorists, the couple, the married couple with the baby, shot up the Christmas party? Did I ever tell you about that? Yeah, this guy's a lot better than the guy I met. I tried shaking his hand because that's just what I do. I'm an American. I'm a woman in business, and I'm just my father's daughter. Okay, and what he did was hi, and shake her hand, of course, and he wouldn't shake my hand because I'm a woman, because they don't do that with women. Fine, whatever. I just okay, I'm sorry. Allow me to back away and question you. Anyway, so here we are in San Diego, and this is the two kids, one 18, one 17, who apparently met online. And let's check out what the cops have to say.
To give us the answers, but again, what I can say is they definitely had a broad hatred towards a lot of folks.
Are you aware of the suspects live streaming the attack for their own death?
I'm aware of that information, and again, not a lot I can share at this point because we're actively going through those electronics. We just recently got search warrants in place, so we are digging into that as aggressively and as quickly as we can.
To the extent that you're able to characterize their death.
I can't really. I apologize. Yeah.
They will radicalize online.
Can I just allow me to just barge in here? This whole thing is, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. And these guys, I mean, they barely could answer any questions. But of course, we in the media, we want answers, as many as we can. And we like to ask questions to put into the public water table, things that we believe happen. Among them, that this person, one of them, was live streaming the attack. And I actually do have, let me see what I've got. Here, let's go here. I don't know what it shows because I didn't want to watch it, but I'll show you 10 seconds of it. Okay, I will show 10 seconds. There's really not a heck of a lot to see anyway. And come on. Oh, I got to take that off first. All right, yeah. It's just that, hey, watch me, look at me. I'm live streaming my daily. Just not much you can say. But just know that some done. I don't think there's any sound. What? Okay, now you're going to see the iconograph. Oh, for God's sake, the symbology, the crap they're wearing on their shirt. Let me go back. This is, obviously this guy had some sort of a GoPro. Well, it was a crappy GoPro if he had one. So the people will be taking this apart on Discord, and that's the way we're going to leave it. I'm going to stop sharing that. Yeah, get out. There's no sound or anything. Did you see that? Did I just totally... Did I say I was going to show it and then not show it? Oh, yikes. I thought I did. Well, anyway. So they left behind you're not going to believe this, they left behind a manifesto. And it turns out they hate everybody. But here's a little bit more of what the cops had to say. Reporters' questions, hard to hear. Sorry.
We're still going through, again, all that information, but what we do believe is that they met online, and through the course of that online communication, they discovered that they were both residing in the San Diego area, and they became acquaintances or associates and had in-person contact at that point. But in terms of how the radicalization occurred, we're still digging into all that.
I know that you got a call yesterday from one of the suspects' mothers. Have you been in touch? How much have you been in touch with the other suspect's family?
I want to be sensitive with what I share at this point. We are getting a lot of information from a lot of people, and so it's an ongoing. I know the community has a lot of questions that we want to share and be as transparent as we can, but understanding we also have to be sensitive to the investigation of the victims and the witnesses we're talking with. So when the time is right, we'll absolutely share as much as we can.
Are you able to confirm which mother called the 17-year-old or the 18-year-old?
Yeah, we can. So the younger suspect's mom is the one that called.
That's a 17-year-old.
Can I ask the mom a question?
Yes, please.
You talked about how the Islamic Center became far too familiar with this need as you've taken all of these steps.
The Islamic Center lost a security guard and two other people who tried to get these kids with the guns to pay attention to them instead of the kids in the school, of which there were 140 in this Islamic Center in San Diego. And that happened Monday. I don't know what they would have done. They probably would have killed kids. They went, after they took the lives of 3 different people, they went into a car and killed themselves. So obviously some troubled individuals. The mom called. One of the moms called, the 17-year-old's mom called and said, hey, I think my son's having some ideations that are not going to be very healthy for him. Can you imagine being the mother of that kid? Oh my gosh. I mean, You actually, look, I've been around a little bit, and I've had 3 kids, and sometimes you run into some real kids, and the mothers who really come to grips and are honest about their kids' tendencies and their ability to be really bad individuals. And when they're honest about it, it makes my heart hurt, because I know they've come to grips with it. That's why they're being honest with me about it. And if you like something happens to your kid or something, and then you call them up and go, "Hey man, what the heck?" And you get the truth out of them. So here we go. Here's more of the imam. Let's go.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was hired sometime in 2019, 2020.
What question?
Yeah.
It's also very clear by the actions that he took immediately getting things on lockdown that this is something that he and the center had planned for. Is this something that you had talked to him about?
Yeah. We do a drill, test every time, especially with the school. Multiple times every school year. So he knew about the system of notifying the teachers in their classrooms in case of an active shooter, and he just implemented what he knows about the system. So, yeah. Surely.
And he was a hero. And they didn't comment on the live streaming. And so here we go. This is the San Diego PD
and
chief.
The facts and the search warrant. So what we're presenting in front of a judge is going to be enough to get that approved. It takes time, and there was a lot of information, a lot of things coming together in real time in yesterday's event. And so I'm going to say, once we realize that we had no active threat, we can slow things down and do it right moving forward. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Specifically about the live stream, did you learn anything specific in any social media posts that gave you an indication about their ideology?
All of that's going to
He's rolling his eyes. That's the FBI dude, I think.
Yes, sir.
Can you comment on how unique the situation is, Muslim on Muslim crime? Have you ever had any suspicions of something like this happening?
This guy's asking about Muslim on Muslim crime. He assumes that the 2 kids who were involved were, active in the Islamic faith or Muslim faith, and were acting like a couple of terrorists. I think that's where he was going with that. I heard it, and I don't want to actually put that in the political water table. So I think we need to move on that. But I would say that there is there are a couple of other things that, of course, have come out, and one of them is that, and Amuse on X, I subscribe to his Substack. It's worth it. He's a really good writer, and he also puts things together that seldom other people do. And he is told, who knows, San Diego mosque shooters identified as a trans couple. Well, that doesn't actually seem to jibe. Everybody's now looking to see if anybody, the latest person who takes a gun into a public place is a trans person, because so many of the violent people have been trans recently, a lot of different shootings. And so now, of course, they're defaulting to that almost. I trust Amuse. I have to assume that he has information that I have not seen, has not been verified by the police that you just saw in that partial news conference that I shared with you. But that's what he thinks. Kane Clark, 17, Caleb Vasquez, 18, have been identified as the suspects at the Islamic Center that killed 3 adult men, including a security guard. Former classmates claim the pair are transgender and in a relationship, which does not jibe with the fact that they met online and had never met each other. So something, maybe that they never met each other before they became a couple? No idea. Got nothing. So we'll find out. Time will tell, as they say. And, man. Okay. That's... The New York Post says this is the same mosque at which Anwar al-Awlaki well, let me put it that Al-Awlaki was in a La Mesa mosque, and he also drew. Now, Al-Awlaki turns out to be the guy who was at the Virginia mosque. He later moved to Virginia mosque, and he gave money, help, and cover to some of the 9/11 hijackers. And indeed, 2 of those hijackers went to this mosque. Do I think that 9/11 has anything to do with this shooting? I don't, actually. However, it's a data point that one should not forget. These guys got help, succor, hidden, cover at this mosque in San Diego years ago. The San Diego, that's what I've had 2 different reports about it. Like, yes, it was, no, it wasn't, whatever. This is the one where the 2 9/11 hijackers went, and you can pick them out. There are just a select few that there was one in Portland, in Southwest Portland, that produced 7 jihadists. Yeah. One of whom wanted to blow up the Christmas celebration in Portland. And hey, this is a legit mosque, went one of the text messages between the bad actors. That also, as a matter of fact, I am a civil libertarian, so I'd like to go back and revisit that case of Muhammad. I was completely convinced this kid was given every opportunity to pull out of this attempted bombing of the Christmas tree celebration. He went and purchased the materials for the bomb. He moved the car. He had the detonator. He pushed the detonator a couple of times. He did it. But it was the FBI that participated in the quote-unquote conspiracy. Kind of wonder about that. Would that have been? It was sort of like the Whitmer kidnapping, except they had a couple of dipsticks that participated who barely had anything to live for. And 23 of the 25 people who were involved in that whole thing were either assets, they were people who were helping the FBI, or they were FBI agents. How absurd is this thing? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm not an online relationship boomer. I don't do relationships. I'm just telling you. You had me at the beginning, and then you lost me because I feel sorry for a mom who's got a bad kid. She's stuck with that kid. Do I know she had anything to do with it? I have no idea. All I'm just saying is that she tried. That's the only thing I was saying. I'm not giving any relationship advice, but don't be surprised if occasionally it comes out, because I've lived a life, man. I've lived a life. You know, I've been a reporter, journalist for decades. In print, on radio, television, I've been a reporter for years, and now on a podcast. And I've seen a lot. And I have, in the past few years as a writer for an opinion journal, and 2 of them, as a matter of fact. I love PJ Media, so I've been with them for years now. But I've noticed that whenever there are mistakes that are made in the public sphere, and they're made by the people in Silicon Valley, for example, or the local government or something like that, they always seem to go in one direction. And that is against people standing up for what's right. That's against them. And so here it is in the Pacific Palisades the other day. Did you happen to see this? This was a bizarre thing that occurred and noticed by someone on a chat with the Big G tech firm. And they asked the question, hey, what happened to the Pacific Palisades on your mapping system, both Apple and Google? And so people said, you know, they hey, yeah, I've noticed that all of a sudden the Palisades is back, large and in charge. And I said, I got to find out if that's true. So I did. And it's one of those really bizarre things that happens when I got to make sure. Here we go. Let's do this. Make sure. Okay. No. Sorry, guys. Technical glitch. Oh, yes. The online relationship boomer had a technical glitch. What a surprise. I mean, I told you about the glitch in yesterday's DOJ deal, and it was real. Okay, so what do we have here? For whatever reason, I just want to make sure. Pyramid. Nope, that's not it. That's the lady who was selling or buying votes. Oh, yeah, here we go. All right, let's check this out. Now, this is what I want you to see. It is a map, a before and after map of the Pacific Palisades. And let's just make it a little bit bigger so you can see it better. And that's that. I'm going to get rid of this dude. And let's get it here so you can see it a little bit better. Historical imagery. This is the burned out Pacific Palisades, and this is what it looks like. No, that's not true. Today. It was the before and after. This is what it looked like today, and this is what it looked like after January 2025, which was the Palisades fire. And you guys know that this is one of my hobby horses, and I do because it's an important story because it was a completely preventable problem. If not completely preventable, then it was almost completely preventable. And so what happened was the Pacific Palisades was magically put back into the Google Maps. So Big G and also Apple. So they're getting their information from the same sources. And what happened was that you couldn't figure out what was going on. Why would that happen? Why would it be that Google would all of a sudden just change its maps, and all of a sudden the neighborhoods in Pacific Palisades were restored to their former glory? And it turns out there was a glitch. And that's what they're calling it, a glitch. And so Spencer Pratt finally, this went on for a couple of days. This went on over the weekend. So this she's on the chat room or whatever with Google. I find it. Reddit starts talking about it. This is how the usual ecosystem goes. And then it spills out on X, and people are talking about it. And I'm like, oh, no, hold on a second. Hold on. How is it that this could be a mistake, everybody? I mean, it could. There might be an explanation for it, okay? And then I started thinking, and I got all these comments from people, hey, you got your head in the sand, Victoria. This is ridiculous. So Spencer Pratt, who's running for mayor, asks the question. So Google responded to my query about what caused the totality of the pre-burned Pacific Palisades being magically restored to its Maps application, causing a cascade of cynicism and criticism. The criticism and wonder, of course, pertain to whether or not this miraculous restoration had something to do with helping Karen Bass win her re-election campaign, and how it much better, if anyone looked at the maps, that things didn't look so bad. They looked pretty good because all of the homes were back in the Pacific Palisades. And so the June primary is coming up, but ballots are already out. So people were saying, oh, come on, Victoria. It, in all likelihood, was an error on the side of the people who don't like us very much, people like me. And, you've seen them in the comments section. There are some people for whom having a point of view that might be even remotely spitting distance from, let's say, Donald Trump and or anyone else on the right is a fireable offense. These are the same people who thought that, taking statues down in 2016 was great. And ruined the lives of multiple men who may or may not have sexually abused other women. The list was long and ignoble, but nevertheless, lives were ruined. So I wrote about it on Sunday. I said, why did the torched ghost homes, Palisades and Altadena, just miraculously reappear on Google Maps? So I got to thinking in this second story here. L.A. Spencer Pratt asked Google why he can see his burned down house. I could have worded that better, but nevertheless. But here's the point I wanted to make. And, we've lived through, the statue, tearing down statues stage. We have been people who have witnessed dictionaries being changed in real time, like in front of your eyes, because the left has decided that this word is fascist and they want another word to describe X, Y, or Z. That happened a lot in the past few years. And then you add to that this alleged glitch by the G that shall not be named. And then you wonder, okay, what? Is it really just a glitch? Because that's what Google was telling Spencer Pratt when he finally asked. He said, hey, man, what WTF? That's what he said in a message. And they said, well, it was a glitch. We were restoring everything. It's, didn't mean it. It was just a mistake. And then I started thinking about what has happened at this company. Did anybody ever see Silicon Valley, the show that was on HBO? God, that show was hilarious. Great show. You can go back and watch. I don't think it's too antiquated now, but the first episode with Kid Rock is absolutely gold. So anyway, but I did start thinking about, that was funny, and that was the human side of Silicon Valley. And then there's, of course, the Google side of Silicon Valley and all the people who work at Meta and are trying to put their employers out of business and suing them. It's easy to question, I said, whether an employee would pull a stunt like restoring the images of pre-cataclysmic Pacific Palisades to help out fellow traveler Karen Bass. These are the same employees, after all, who attempted to extort change from the Silicon Valley company by staging global walkouts over sexual harassment in 2018. Of course, these are definitions of their own making, not necessarily ones shared by the HR department, okay? So, sexual harassment does sound bad, and of course it is bad, but they get to be able to define their own terms, and all of a sudden, something that, pointing at somebody becomes a fireable offense. And so anyway, you've got that going on at Google. Then you have the canceling the Pentagon contracts. These employees got their employer to stop compromising with or dealing with the Pentagon on certain issues, including AI. We don't want them we don't want to work with the Pentagon, at the time, Department of Defense, now Department of War. And we don't want them to actually, do a war with our technology. So do you realize that the defense industry is like one of their biggest customers? That's insane. Your employees are going, and now, of course, that's not happening anymore. But nevertheless, then they did anti-Israel protests in 23, 24. They held sit-ins at the workplace. And remember when they took over an area of that? They did it at Microsoft too. And then, as I hasten to add, the employees resembled Antifa on May Day. That's how bad this was for this company. So I can well understand, I wrote, why nobody to the right of John Fetterman would trust these guys and question their response. So here it is. Spencer Pratt asks, "Dear Google, what the F is going on?" And of course, here's another one of those pictures. Before and after pictures of Pacific Palisades. Here's Pacific Palisades. All the houses are here. Here's Pacific lots. And Google changed them. So you wonder, well, And here it is. Here's today's Google Maps. I'm going to do it. This is live here. And the houses are there. Oh no, that's gone. Okay, maybe they changed it. Maybe they did change it on this one. Yeah, this looks pretty. Are these just lots? Is that what it is? So this looks like they did finally get the fix in. But people are going, okay, now how often? I'm not a techie. That's why I don't program. I'm not an AI guy. I don't know how many layers and tablets and such that it takes to put a 3D map like this that you can just go zoom in and zoom out. That it takes. I don't know that. So I need somebody with expertise to tell me. That's great. So that's why I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And now they apparently have changed back the fix. And now the houses are no longer there because they've been burned down because the city of Los Angeles did everything in its power, actually not. And with the state of California, did everything in their power not to save the people. Oh, Von Ruger, you must be new here, honey. Yeah, you poor thing. You didn't get the memo, did you? Yeah, it's sad. Very, very sad. They're fascists. They are tyrants. What is it? David Horowitz says, inside the heart of every leftist is a tyrant screaming to get out. No, I'm not. God, stop it. Okay. So that brings me to Spencer Pratt and what he's doing with his mayoral race. And it's pretty spectacular. He has put out another commercial. There are two more commercials of his that I'm going to show you. I have to see. And here's one of them. And he keeps getting, oh, you don't live in the Palisades. How dare you? You're a terrible person. You are not really what you say. And it's like, dude, I lost my house. My dad lost his house. I lost everything in this fire. And so here he is doing his little send up of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I think is worth a watch. And it's, what is it, sideways? That's sad. Yeah. I mean, is that good or what? He's got a better one out, but okay. Thank you. He does have a better one out there that I really enjoy. That, and a lot of these, he did this one himself, or somebody did that for him and produced it for him as a, kind of a troll. He's not one of them. He's the actual victim, and if he were black, he'd be a more believable victim, or another Latino, or he'd be more believable, but he's just some white guy who used to be on reality TV, and he wasn't very likable when he was back then. And so he's but people love him. He's doing great. He's, I think he's second to Karen Bass, the former Congresswoman turned LA mayor, who was an absolute disaster. And she deserves to go. She completely biffed the response to the fire. She knew it was coming. She knew it was the red flag warning, historic fires expected. And what did she do? She left town, which is fine. Maybe it was better that she left town because obviously she was incapable of doing anything else. But go and do something for Joe Biden, who didn't want to travel himself. And honestly, I tell you, she's terrible. And she's worse than some of the people running Oregon. And that's really bad. Let me tell you something about them. So I'm trying to think of where I saw the other one. There was an exceptional Spencer Pratt commercial that I wanted you to see, and I thought I put it up here. But of course I didn't do that. Let's see. Shoot. Sometimes you never know. I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm just going to do it live here, okay? And AI is helping. This has just been wild. Let's see. Is this it? No. Nope. Flipped out that Spencer Pratt's people are just offering up commercials to him. And is it this one? Yeah, no, that's the one. I already played that one for you. Oh, shoot. Darn it. Oh, well. I guess I missed it. Maybe. Oh, hold on now. Hold on, people. I actually may have captured that because of being afraid I wasn't going to be able to do it. So stand by here. Phew. Bummer. Well, I guess I'll have to wait till Thursday. Yeah, you honestly, it's such a good one that I'm so bummed I can't find it. Damn it. I'm going to find it when I get off the air. Oh, well, now if I had a producer, it's the old joke. You know, he'd find it, but he's off today because he's at the dock. All right, there you go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to end on a whimper, which is a real bummer because I really like to. Who's got that? Damn it. Instagram. Let me find Instagram. Maybe Spencer. Oh, by the way, follow me on Instagram. Maybe Spencer has this on his website now or his Instagram posts because it's worth this pain here that you're, you know. This is painful. You're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe she doesn't have this all ready to go. Yeah, me too. Nobody's more surprised than me, actually. So anyway, because guess what? Homegirl had it all figured out and it went away. Hold on. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get this. She said, hopefully. I'm not seeing it. Damn. Hurt. He probably has so many. He's not coming up right now. This is wild. I think people are watching that commercial, which is really a bummer for me. So, which is to say, I would love to be able to show it to you, but it's buffering, which is like, when does that happen anymore? Honestly. I mean, what is this, a dial-up? No, it's like and I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm on, Cat 6 cable. So I'm wired in to a source that should be unassailable. But is it unassailable today? Nope. No, it's not. Anyway, well, I'm going to be back on Thursday, and we have a terrific show. It's going to be Epstein Thursday, but we also have another guest lined up that I think will be of benefit to you, and you will learn something. And, after all, let's face it, because if you listen to people like this, I mean, my daughter's got a podcast, and she's super smart and very eloquent. And thing is that it comes so easily to her. I'm more newsy. I want to, and you learn something from her podcast for sure. But I also like to learn something. I want you to learn something from this podcast, and I want to learn stuff when I listen to other people's podcasts. So I just want you to know that I keep that front and center. And I want you to please share, like, and hit the notifications on YouTube and any other entity on which you watch this, on Spotify or Homebase or anything else that you watch this on, and Rumble, etc., the Free Speech Forum. And then I'll see you on Thursday, 1 o'clock, and who knows till how long. Thank you very much for being here today. Take care, and I'll see you. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter, when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.